So it's finally here, the GoPro Hero 6. Although with the influx of competing cameras like the Yi 4K Plus and the Sony FDR X3000, is it too little too late? Or has GoPro done it again and set another new benchmark? The GoPro Hero 6 is one of the most expensive GoPro cameras the company have ever produced, and you're certainly not paying for any accessories because there simply aren't many at all. Priced in at $500, other than a couple of adhesive mounts and a USB charge and sync cable, there's nothing else included, so I guess it all goes into the camera itself, which looks just like its predecessor. Visually, the Hero 6 is almost identical to the Hero 5 before it. That means they both feature that slightly ruggedized rubbery exterior and built-in waterproofing to 10 meters without the need for a separate housing. There's still dual microphones too. Even the battery is identical, which means all those spares you may have picked up for your Hero 5 will work with the newer model just the same. These similarities are good news if you've picked up any Hero 5 Black specific mounts, such as the Karma grip for instance, as it'll still work just fine. No issue there at all. The rear screen is also identical with the same menu structure, which is well laid out and very easy to use anyway, so in all honesty this didn't need any further refinement in this regard. Nevertheless, you'll find the menus smoother, with sleek animations and snappy response all round, and yes, both models still support voice controls in 10 different languages too. Inside is where things deviate. The GoPro Hero 6 Black's major upgrade is internal, and that comes from that GP1 custom processor. This is used to unlock higher resolution and frame rate options compared to the Hero 5 Black. So the Hero 5 Black tops out at 4K at 30, whereas the Hero 6 Black can now shoot 4K at a slick 60 frames per second. We've seen this done before with the Yi 4K Plus, another great camera, and that 60 frames per second provides smoother video capture at full 4K. But the real interesting item is what's happening below that key resolution. For example, GoPro introduced electronic image stabilisation with the Hero 5 last year, but that was limited to 2.7K. This changes with the Hero 6 Black, which supports image stabilisation up to 4K 30, and even 2.7K is up to 120 frames per second. This is all courtesy of that new GP1 processor, providing extra grunt for that software stabilisation. And I have to admit, although digital, the stabilisation is seriously impressive, almost gimbal-like. It really is surprisingly good, and that new chip really does work wonders, moving GoPro away from the Ambarella chips they've adopted in the past. The Hero 5 used the same chipset as that in the Garmin Verb Ultra 30 for instance. Now the new GP1 chipset is unique to the GoPro and seems far more powerful. And the results are actually impressive. Honestly, it's crazy good. The two biggest visible improvements are better low light support and better dynamic range, resulting in not only better exposure in both bright and dark conditions, but also faster exposure. So in other words, the camera reacts very quickly to lighting changes, so you don't end up with image blowouts. Also new for the Hero 6 Black is touch zoom, which allows you to digitally zoom. This will be at a detriment to image quality compared to optical zoom, but if you want to get closer to the action, it will be a useful option to fall back on without necessarily putting yourself in harm's way. The GP1 chip also works wonders for slow motion footage. The Hero 5 Black could only shoot 240 frames per second slow motion video at a reduced 720p resolution. With the Hero 6 Black, you can now shoot 240 at a much sharper 1080p resolution. The more light the better in this mode, but it creates some nice, smooth, slow-mo footage, which is perfect for mixing into video projects. Both 4K at 60 and 1080p at 240 are pretty big upgrades if you want smooth, higher resolution footage or sharp slow motion. On top of that, there's 2.7K at 120 if you don't want to drop the resolution quite so much but still want some flexibility around slow motion. We touched on low light performance earlier, but looking at some video footage shot in darker environments, it's actually quite an improvement over its predecessor, with more colour visible in the shots. You'll still get some grain of course, that's part of the parcel with such small sensors, but quality as a whole is really good in lower light conditions with noticeable difference. that improved dynamic range and colouring extends to images taken with the camera too. Within the Hero 6 Black you've got all the same modes you had in the past, so things like burst mode, time-lapse mode for both photo and video, as well as the ability to control photo exposure via ProTune. But you've also got some new stuff. Most noticeably a new HDR mode, which is different than the WDR mode in the past. HDR aside, images taken with the camera are generally much better than the Hero 5 before it, with better colouring and dynamic contrast all round. It's just brilliant. Lastly, one item worthwhile noting is that you can now specify the exposure in photos up to 30 seconds long. This allows you to get legit night scenes, albeit probably not with action. This feature also carries through to the time-lapse mode as well, so you can use it in conjunction with that. Furthermore, GoPro still retains the RAW format for photos as well, so you can enable that to get more post-production control. From a battery standpoint, it's about the same as the Hero 5, which means shooting at the max of 4K 60 you'll get about an hour, whereas shooting at 1080p 30 you'll be clocking in over 2 hours. The other good news is that batteries are the same too, which also means third-party batteries are the same as well. I've already tested various third-party solutions with no issues, and they're a heck of a lot cheaper. Of course, we have wireless connectivity too, and I had no problems with that connectivity throughout testing. It's rock solid and works perfectly well, controlling all aspects of the camera as with its predecessor. Although one point to note is how much nippier it is all round thanks to the adoption of that 5 GHz wireless band, making downloading video to your smartphone or tablet much quicker. Note, however, that you can't preview 4K 60 or 1080p 240 content from your phone via Wi-Fi to the camera. You have to download it all to the phone first, the whole file, which can take a long time considering the size of footage at such resolutions or frame rates. That's definitely a bummer, but otherwise GoPro have pretty much nailed the wireless app side of things. As it stands, GoPro have a solid contender with the Hero 6. They've taken a winning formula in the Hero 5 and made it that much better with their all-new GP1 chip, making a sizable difference with its internals. The same exterior shell means complete compatibility with all mounts and accessories, including the batteries, which is always a bonus. The menu system is one of the best out there, and above all else, image quality is outstanding. Really, it's professional level stuff we're talking here. Simply put, GoPro nailed it. But does that mean you should rush out and buy one? Well, if you're looking to upgrade from a Hero 3 or Hero 4, then the Hero 6 will make a sizable difference to your video or image capture. But if you're already a Hero 5 owner, unless you really need 4K 60 or the flexibility of 1080p at 240, then the upgrade may not seem as cost effective. This is one of the most expensive action cameras out there after all. Had GoPro incorporated optical image stabilisation similar to that in the Sony FDR-X3000, this would be a beast of a camera. Even so, as it stands though, you can't possibly go wrong with a Hero 6. It's a heavy investment, but if you're serious about capturing your adventures in the best way possible, the Hero 6 sets a new benchmark.